everyone! Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're gonna be doing something different. I wanted to have like a short video where I describe everything you might need for doing your nails. Let's say you're just practicing or you're just starting. So I wanted to have a list for you guys. So if you're trying to do your nails like I do, or you saw someone else do their nails and you're inspired by that, I wanted to have a list of some items you might need to start doing your nails on your own. If that sounds interesting, stay along and watch the video, and I hope you guys like it. So let's start off with the basic items that you need for prep. Some of these items are gonna be nail files with different grit. So you can hear that this is a bit rougher than the rest. You need rougher nail files to remove as much product as possible. And I use the softer ones, or like the softer grit ones, when I'm getting closer to my actual nail, because you should not really be using something this rough on your natural nail. I might have accidentally on a few occasions just like rubbed off too much of my nail, and I like almost got into the actual skin, or like it got too close to the actual skin, so that will hurt and you have to be extremely careful. So I would recommend, if you're just starting off, to use something a bit soft or medium, or if you're shaping up your nails. I know that some people don't like to clip their nails and they like to file their nails into shape, so it is best to start off with something soft so that you don't take off too much at once. And the next thing we have for prep is cuticle work. So these are some items that you can find online to clean your cuticles, and the cuticle is just this area. So the area where I guess the skin stops and then your nail starts. So there are two kinds, or two places, that people usually, like nail artists, work on, and it's this part and then some part on the nail itself, like on the nail bed itself. Okay, so I just like to use this cuticle pusher to push the dead skin from the nail bed itself. I don't use it to push the actual skin. You have to be extremely careful because this is sharp metal. It's not like a knife, but it is quite sharp, so be sure to not accidentally cut yourself. And I do like to use clippers. These are just normal nail clippers to kind of remove, I don't really have a lot of dead skin on this nail, but you see like this piece of dead skin, I kind of like to nip it off using these. And there is another kind of cuticle nippers, and it's kind of like a curve, but I have tried some of them and I don't know, I get more injured using them than my usual just nail cutter or nail snipper. So I do use this usually, but you guys just have to try and see what works for you, because what works for me is not necessarily gonna work for you. There is also this tool, it's like a scooper, I guess, but I don't necessarily use this anymore. I used to in the beginning of my nail art journey, but you are very prone to getting a lot of injuries and bleeding around the cuticle if you use this, because you're basically pushing into the skin and scooping all the dead skin out. So if you're not careful, you are gonna hurt yourself. These are all the tools that I like to use for my nail prep, whether I'm gonna add tips on or just doing nail art on my natural nails. These are just the tools that you would need to start. And you guys, look at my kitten. Okay, because she's wanting attention. Okay, now that you've prepped your nail, you might want to start with either doing nail art on your natural nail or applying nail tips. And in this video, I have to preface by saying, or I guess it's not a preface if I already started the video, but I just have to say that in this video, I am going to be talking about doing nail art using nail tip and normal nail polish, not gel polish, not acrylics, not polygel or any of that stuff, because this is my usual routine. So I don't want to include some items that I don't use and I don't have that much experience with, and I don't want to mislead you guys or tell you to use something that I haven't really used and then it ends up badly. So I am going to speak from my experience and the things that I actually use daily. So if you're like me and you use normal nail polish and you sometimes paint on your actual nails or just nail tip, this video will be really good for you. And I'm sorry I didn't say this in the beginning, doing, but I'm gonna start with the nail tips. If you do use nail tip, there is a wide variety of nail tips that you can find online, and I have a few. So these are my oldest ones. These are the first ones I got, and I just labeled the box with the sizes that fit each finger. I do have a mixture of like translucent white tips and completely translucent tips. It matters what tip you choose depending on the design you want at the end. So next up we have this kind of shape. This is a coffin shape. If you happen to get nail tips that are kind of frosty like this, there is no worry. It's completely normal. You just have to paint them with a top coat on the top and the bottom of the nail if you want to get them clear again. And another shape that I have is just stilettos and quite long tip. I do like having long tips because if I want to shorten them, I can just cut off the extra length. Then I can have like a different shape from the same nail tip, and it gives me more creativity and more space to do some nail art. Another point you might want to be aware of is the depth or the curve of the nail or the nail tip. So for example, you can see with this one, it's quite curved and high. So depending on your nail, because my nails are quite flat and they're not very curved, so these ones I do have to flatten a bit so I can put on my nail, and some nail tips are not just flexible enough for you to do that, so you just have to look at the pics online and compare them to your actual nail and see which nail tip would fit better. Now that we're done with the base or the foundation of what you're going to be painting on, let's talk about how you can stick your nail tips on your nails. Some things that you are gonna need is some alcohol, and I like to use these like pump bottles because you can pump up some and have it in this like little plate and then cover it when you're done using it, so you don't actually like gas yourself from the fumes. Another thing you might need with the alcohol is some tissue paper or some cotton pads. If you're looking for an alternative to cotton pads and you don't want lint on your nails, you can use tissue paper, which is available in almost every house. Or if you want to have something extra, you can move to lint-free wipe. I'll just pop a picture for you guys on the side so you can see what they look like. Okay, so we've seen that we need alcohol and some wipe, and we need alcohol to dry out your nail bed before putting anything on. You might have anything on your nails that would act like a barrier between the glue and your actual nail, so the nail will not stick as well to your actual nail and it might fall off, or if you accidentally bump your nails, it will fall off, and that is quite dangerous and painful. So now let's talk about the actual application of the nail tips. So you can either use nail glue, like just normal liquid nail glue. Something else that you might see to stick nail tips on is these sticky tabs, and these tabs come in different sizes depending on the size of your nail bed. I do like to apply this curved end on my cuticle so it can match, but if your cuticle is not that curved, you can also have this more flatter side to match the cuticle. Now let's move on to the actual fun parts that I like about nail art, and that is the nail art itself. So the first thing I want to mention is nail art brushes. So you don't necessarily need to have a lot. For example, the main ones I use are one that is really thin and long and one that is shorter and thicker, and you want to use the shorter brush for filling out bigger areas, and you want to use the thinner brush for doing more delicate line art or doing straighter lines. And you can have a dotting tool as well, and like a fan brush to dust anything. Let's say you have some powder, you have some eyeshadow powder that you want to add on your nails, so you can dust it on using this one, or you can just use your finger and buff it on and then dust the extra off with your brush. So these are just, I guess you can call them optional. You don't necessarily need line art brushes. If you want to do nail art, you can just use whatever you have in the house. For example, you can substitute your dotting tool with just a normal toothpick, and that is easier to find and cheaper to find than a dotting tool. Brushes usually are pretty cheap, but if you don't want to get brushes, if you're just starting and you just want to experiment and try out some stuff, I guess you can go out and find paint brushes, like normal paint brushes, and these are extremely cheap. And you can just cut around the bristles that you don't want and form something like this. So just find whatever brush you like, whatever brush is lying around your house, and shape it to your needs. Now for the colors, I'm gonna tell you something. You don't need a lot of colors. Trust me, you just need white, black, a good white and a good black, a white that is opaque and a black that is opaque, and whatever colors you like. For example, if you like blue and pink and yellow, you don't necessarily have to go out and get other colors if you don't use them that much. You don't have to buy like a huge set of 100 nail colors or nail polishes if you're not gonna use most. So just be smart about it. Think of all the colors that you like and get them. You don't necessarily have to get all of the colors. You can get the base colors and then mix them. It is gonna be a bit harder to mix them and get them accurately, but this is some advice that I'm giving you guys if you don't want to go out and buy a lot of nail polishes. But for me, I think that having some basic colors like red, some blue, and yellow in any different shade that you want. These colors are very mixable into different colors, and since they are the primary colors, you can also get variations of them. Instead of red, you can get magenta, you can get a little bit of pink. Instead of blue, you can get teal or like a turquoise blue. Instead of yellow, you can get like a peach or an orange. You can just get something that is similar to these hues if you want to have a wide range of colors, but you don't want to get a lot of nail polish. And with the black and white, you can really darken and lighten the colors up. Now, let's say you're not allowed to get nail polish, or you don't want to use nail polish, you don't want to invest in nail polish, and you want to have something else to use on your nails and get cool design. So what you can use is actually just some pens or just some mark. Usually to get these to work best, you have to buff the surface of the nail a little bit with like a soft nail file. So it has like a little bit of texture for these to draw on. And this is an alternative if you don't want to start off using nail polish, you want to practice with something that you already have. Another unexpected item that you can use is actually pencils. So colored pencils that you find anywhere around the world, you can use them to sort of push the pigment into your nail. And this depends on actually the quality of the pencil itself, because as you can see here, it's not really showing up that well. And if you have softer pencils or like a softer tip, it is gonna push the pigment off better. Instead of using normal color pencils, you can get watercolor pencils, like just the 12-pack or something, and they are quite cheap. And these are water activated, so if you add any water, they will cover a bigger area. These are the options that you have, you guys. You have your normal nail polishes, or some markers, or like colorful pens, or colored pencils. After you're done with all of the nail art and you finished up your nail design, you can go ahead with either a glossy top coat or a matte top coat to seal in your design. I do recommend starting off with just a glossy top coat because that is usually the most used top coat. And if you want to try out what a matte top coat looks like, you can go ahead and get one. And you just have to be careful because sometimes the matte top coat does not work that well in humid conditions. We had like a few weeks of extreme humidity, and the matte top coat took longer to dry, and it dried a bit spotty in some areas. So you just have to be aware of this thing, or this aspect about matte top coats when you're using them. And now I want to enter the portion of practice. So you can have all of these items, but if you're not practicing enough, you're not gonna get better at nail art. So that is not meant to make you more depressed or make you sad about not getting better at nail art. You just have to practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. It is gonna make you better at drawing. It is gonna make your hand more stable, and you will get inspired by people online, and you can use them as inspiration for your practice. So a few things that you can use during practicing is double-sided tape and nail stands. So these nail stands are extremely useful if you want to add a nail tip and just practice on it. And to stick the nail tip on, you can either use double-sided tape like I do, or you can use like this gummy. It's not a gummy, but it's like sort of like a gum, but it's like a sticky paste, like a sticky Play-Doh, and you put it on the tip or like the stand or the tip, and then you stick it on and it stays there. If you don't want to get this, you can use any stick that you have. Let's say you have your liner brush, you can add the sticky tape, or you can add like a normal tape and like roll it so it can become sticky, and then stick the nail tip on there. And something else you might want to get is something to mix your colors on. This is going to be especially useful if you don't have a wide array of colors, and it's normal to not have a wide array of colors. and I do like to use this for mixing. You don't necessarily need something fancy. You can just get a piece of plastic that you have around the house. Do not be limited by what you have. Don't just say, oh, I don't have this, so I can't really do nail art. You can just use whatever items you have around the house. You don't really need to complicate it and say, oh, I need to be like this person and get like 50,000 items. You really don't. Trust me, you just can use whatever you have. Practice, practice, practice. That's what's important. Because if you do have a lot of items, if you do have a lot of tools and colors and like gels, acrylics, normal nail polish, but you don't have the skills, it's really not gonna make a difference. So I just advise you guys to practice as much as possible, look at other people's nails and try and copy them, but do credit them if you plan to post your practice designs, because stealing is wrong. Don't steal other people's nail art. And that's just my advice for you guys. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. If you use extra tools that you find essential in your process, put them down in the comments. I would like to explore other tools and see what you guys use on a daily. And if you have any suggestions for other people on how to improve their nail art, put your comment down below. I hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Bye!